Hello, perceptive readers. Welcome to Reading Wisdom. John chapter 7 is where the reading is going to come from today. I'm James Lynch. And just my opening thoughts, as you will see near the end of the reading, is how Jesus would speak, you see, facts about matters. And people knew it. You see, people knew it. They were recognizing it. And it didn't even take long for them to recognize it. I mean, Jesus could come to their town, and very quickly, after listening to him, they knew that, hey, he had the spiritual facts, you see, on all these matters. He knew what he was talking about, all right? And so what would, I said probably would happen a lot the majority of the time, especially if the other spiritual leaders who didn't like Jesus was around. They would try to say that Jesus was mentioning something that was wrong, or they would undermine what Jesus would say. And then when they could see that the people were really believing what Jesus would say, guess how they would take it a step further. Sometimes, well, you will see in the reading what they would say. when the people almost like just knew he was speaking the facts, something that they could put confidence in for sure, 100% confidence in what he was saying. And then you will see how those spiritual leaders responded to that, and you could see how it could affect people like that back then, and affect people today. And so with that thought in mind, I want you to also really realize that when you read the Bible and you find out what God likes and dislikes, there will be some application of his word you'll be able to do right away. Then other aspects of it will take more time, you see. That's just the reality of it as imperfect human beings, as you know. And so what I found when it comes to the Bible at times, that when you're trying to adjust your life, you will have even certain freedoms and choices that you are exercising today that you decide not to do from that day forward, you see, in the future or what have you. And then people may look at you as even being something is strange with you, as if all of a sudden you're putting limitations on yourself. And it's really, the fact of the matter is, you're still showing the proper humility and respect for God. Respect for God and his word, the Holy Bible. And that's the reality of it. And if someone tries to make you look down upon that, then that's a whole different subject altogether that we could go off into. But you're going to see how all of this ties right into the methods that those spiritual leaders use when everything that Jesus was actually doing. Who would argue that it wasn't good what he was doing and saying? Well, they certainly had an excuse for it. All right. So in John chapter 7, starting with verse 1, let me get a sip of coffee. And here we go. Now, after these things, Jesus continued walking about in Galilee, for he did not want to walk about in Judea because the Jews were seeking to kill him. However, the festival of the Jews, the festival of tabernacles, was near. Therefore his brothers said to him, "Pass on over from here and go into Judea, in order that your disciples also may behold the works you do. For nobody does anything in secret while himself seeking to be known publicly. If you do these things, manifest yourself to the world." His brothers were, in fact, not exercising faith in him. Therefore Jesus said to them, "My due time is not yet present, but your due time is always at hand. The world has no reason to hate you, but it hates me, because I bear witness concerning it that its works are wicked. You go up to the festival. I am not yet going up to this festival, because my due time has not yet fully come." So after he told them these things, he remained in Galilee. But when his brothers had gone up to the festival, then he also went up himself, not openly, but as in secret. Therefore the Jews began looking for him at the festival and saying, "What is that man? Where is that man?" Excuse me. It says, "Where is that man?" And there was a lot of subdued talk about him among the crowds. Some would say, "He is a good man." Others would say, "He is not, but he misleads the crowd." No one, of course, would speak about him publicly because of the fear of the Jews. When by now the festival was half over, Jesus went up into the temple and began teaching. Therefore the Jews fell to wondering, saying, "How does this man have a knowledge of letters, when he has not studied at the schools?" Jesus in turn answered them and said, "What I teach is not mine, but belongs to him that sent me. If anyone desires to do his will, he will know concerning the teaching whether it is from God, or I speak of my own originality. He that speaks of his own originality is seeking his own glory. But he that seeks the glory of him that sent him, this one is true, and there is no unrighteousness in him. Moses gave you the law, did he not? But not one of you obeys the law. Why are you seeking to kill me?" The crowd answered, "You have a demon who is seeking to kill you." In answer, Jesus said to them, One deed I performed, and you are all wondering. For this reason, Moses has given you the circumcision, not that it is from Moses, but that it is from the forefathers, and you circumcise a man on a Sabbath. If a man receives circumcision on a Sabbath in order that the law of Moses may not be broken, are you violently angry at me because I made a man completely sound in health on a Sabbath? Stop judging from the outward appearance, but judge with righteous judgment. Therefore, some of the inhabitants of Jerusalem began to say, "This is the man they are seeking to kill, is it not? And yet, see, he is speaking in public, and they say nothing to him. The rulers have not come to know for a certainty that this is the Christ, have they? On the contrary, we know where this man is from, yet when the Christ comes, no one is to know where he is from." Therefore Jesus cried out as he was teaching in the temple and said, "You both know me and know where I come from. Also, I have not come of my own initiative, but he that sent me is real, and you do not know him. I know him because I am the representative from him, and that one sent me forth." Hence, they began seeking to get hold of him, but no one laid a hand upon him, because his hour had not yet come. Still, many of the crowd put faith in him, and they commenced saying, "When the Christ arrives, he will not perform more signs than this man has performed, will he?" The Pharisees heard the crowd murmuring these things about him, and the chief priests and the Pharisees dispatched officers to get a hold of him. Therefore Jesus said, "I continue a little while longer with you before I go to him that sent me. You will look for me, but you will not find me, and where I am, you cannot come." Therefore the Jews said among themselves, "Where does this man intend going, so that we shall not find him? He does not intend to go to the Jews, dispersed among the Greeks and teach the Greeks, does he? What does this saying mean that he said, "You will look for me, but you will not find me, and where I am, you cannot come"? Now, on the last day, the great day of the festival, Jesus was standing up and he cried out, saying, "If anyone is thirsty, let him come to me and drink. He that puts faith in me, just as the scripture has said, out from his innermost part streams of living water will flow." However, he said this concerning the Spirit, which those who put faith in him were about to receive, for as yet there was no Spirit, because Jesus had not yet been glorified. Therefore, some of the crowd that heard these words began saying, "This is for a certainty the prophet." Others were saying, "This is the Christ." But some were saying, "The Christ is not actually coming out of Galilee, is he? Has not the scripture said that the Christ is coming from the offspring of David and from Bethlehem, the village where David used to be?" Therefore, a division over him developed among the crowd. Some of them, though, were wanting to get hold of him, but no one did lay a hand or lay his hands upon him. Therefore, the officers went back to the chief priests and Pharisees, and the latter said to them, "Why is it you did not bring him in?" The officers replied, "Never has another man spoken like this." In turn, the Pharisees answered, "You have not been misled also, have you?" Not one of the rulers or of the Pharisees has put faith in him, has he? But this crowd that does not know the law are a cursed people. Nicodemus, who had come to him previously and who was one of them, said to them, "Our law does not judge a man unless first it has heard from him and come to know what he is doing, does it?" In answer, they said to him, "You are not also out of Galilee, are you? Search and see that no prophet is to be raised up out of Galilee." Have a beautiful Sunday, Perceptive Readers. Take care of yourself.